Alright, welcome back. This is another review, if you couldn't tell by the title and the thumbnail. And I'm kind of doing this review out of spite, because there's this certain guy that's, Gary I think it is, that's just been going off on my comments about how I'm not making videos about Eureka F&Gs and Hoover convertibles and whatnot with vinyl bags, and in all honesty, I don't care. I don't, Gary, if you listen to this part, I don't care what you think, dude. You want to know something? This is my channel. I post whatever the hell I want, and if you have a deal with it, then right there's the door. Goodbye. Jesus Christ, people. Anyways, out of spite, I am doing a review on a bagless machine that I've had for a few months now. I don't use it a whole lot, and I'll get into why I don't, but it's somehow better and worse than you think it is. What do I mean by that? Well, I'll tell you. This is a Eureka Altima. This is a mid-2000s design. These came out in about 2005, I think. The Altima is certainly an interesting machine. It's quite big. It's not very light. But it does have a couple of things that other machines in its price range didn't seem to have, like a gasket around the motor cover. It also has the Eureka exclusive electrostatic self-cleaning duster. Power paw. This dusting brush isn't original, but is a much needed improvement over the original dusting brush. And of course, the nesting crevice tool and extension wand. Now, I'd say that this machine is much better and worse than you think it is. And what could that possibly mean? Well, let's just say that in terms of cleaning, these things do really good, at least on carpets. But in terms of everything else, not really. So we're going to look at the good and the bad and give our final thoughts on these. So, first off, these were made back when Electrolux still owned Eureka. And because Electrolux owned them at the time, you would probably know this already, but these things are actually pretty sturdy in terms of build quality. I mean, don't know what kind of magic Electrolux was doing, but I'd say that at least the plastic thickness is on par with, and maybe even better than, some of the Taconi uprights, which is probably going to piss off a few people when I say that, but again, this is my channel and I don't care. So yes, I would argue that at least the plastic construction is a heck of a lot better than a lot of the other machines out there, especially similarly priced and similarly designed machines by Bissell. And even some of the Hoover stuff. And why do I compare these to stuff by Taconi? Because, well, this hood is very similar to the hood on the Freedoms and Superlights. There's only 2 screws really hold them in. And you don't really see these breaking a whole lot. Unless you, of course, watch a destruction video, which, why would you waste your time with one of those anyways? But pretty solid builds, you know. Eureka's, at least when Electrolux owned them, used nice metal motor mounts, which was really nice, even on machines like the Maximas and whatnot. Metal wheel axles for all the wheels on them. And a nice aggressive brush roll. Now, I said that these things clean very good for a machine of their caliber. And even though the tool suction is kind of not good on it, I feel like maybe it kind of gives it an advantage on carpets because it's not trying to suck itself to the floor. Which, if you know that, sucking itself to the floor can be a problem on certain carpet piles because it doesn't give it enough room to move air in. And it also makes this thing just glide along carpets like it's almost self-propelled. And it's not self-propelled, which is another thing I like about it, because I think self-propelled machines to any extent are excessive and don't need to exist. Especially Kirby's, because they're the only brand that still does it. But there are more factors that I think help out with the surprisingly good cleaning performance, and one of them is just that Eureka usually has wide air paths on these this era of their machines, for the most part at least. So you got a clear bend right there, which is really nice, so you can see if it's clogged. Although, even though you could see if it's clogged, some people still throw out machines like this when this gets clogged, even though it's right in front of their face. But you live in the USA, you can't really expect a whole lot. Anyways, so yes, this machine is obviously made in China, but for something made over there, it puts up a pretty good fight in terms of build quality. And, of course, cleaning performance is really good, because the brush roll is nice and aggressive, and the air path is nice and large. Which, it's got a very long air path compared to, like, those and those. But it doesn't really stop it from being a fairly decent cleaner. I mean, sure, you're going to have stuff that builds up down here that you're going to have to stretch out and let fly into the dustbin, but I mean, the Sanitary Force is the same way, and those are very good cleaners. Certainly don't out-clean some of the traditions, but they certainly put up a good fight, especially against the Bissell Big Green, which the Sanitary Force does out-clean the Big Green, and I don't care what anyone says about it. So it's solid, it's well built, and it does clean very good on carpets. So what makes it worse than you think? Well, if it ain't obvious, this was picked up after one use on the plush pile area rug in my living room. That's quite a bit of stuff. But you know what else has quite a bit of stuff? This filter that was clean as a whistle when I started. If you don't know, the Altima has a very Bissell-like setup. You know, you got the bin down here, and then the stuff comes in from the top, and there's a separator up there. The only difference is there isn't anything coming down through the center of the bin to go to a filter that's underneath the bin. It all goes up through here, past this filter into a sort of grate, and then around and down, which is definitely one way to do it, and is not a very good way to do it. It is a Bissell-like design, so it has very Bissell-like filtration, and I noticed this because this is like my third take on this. It also leaks around the gasket for this filter. Not good. No wonder why this thing was so nasty when I got it. If you saw the workbench video on this, you will know that 1, this is a Facebook Marketplace find, and 2, this thing was covered in a thick layer of dust on the inside when I got it. The motor was just caked in the headlight. You could barely tell if it was working. It was just dusty, and this filter setup certainly is probably the cause for it, because this stuff gets dirty so quickly, probably even dirtier than the Maxima, and probably even dirtier than the filter on those, and those are, right in the dust. So, the bagless design is certainly not good. But what is nice is you get a little gasket around the motor cover, which a few Eurekas did that. These ones have kind of not good gaskets around them, but it's a gasket nonetheless. It's certainly an upgrade from the Power Force and the Featherlights and the Breezes and the Maximas. But still, not very good. The tool suction on these things, not very good either. It's pretty weak, which certainly helps it with cleaning on carpets because you're not sucking yourself down to the pile, but it doesn't really help spin the turbo brush. No, we'll demonstrate that real quick. Okay. Sometimes using the little cord hook or clip is more of a pain than helpful, but I don't have the tools to test, water lift or CFM or anything, because I think those are just useless numbers. Especially CFM, useless numbers that don't really account for much of anything. But tool suction is not very good. So, let's show you what I mean when I tell you that this thing will drag itself on carpets. I'm letting the machine pull itself. So yes, it does pull itself. It's pretty quiet, although the motor's a little bit annoying and whiny, but it's quiet. But you can tell by the long wind down that the air path certainly puts a bit of strain on the motor because of just how complicated and long it is. But it does clean carpets very good. Although if you have like bad allergies or something, you wouldn't want one of these things. The Contour, which is the bagged alternative to this, is probably a bit of a better fit. If you have allergies and whatnot. But the only problem I really got with these is that these HEPA filters are not sealed. And I saw it earlier that there was just dust leaking around this filter. If I can get this door back in. So it's definitely not a machine you would get for filtration. If you wanted to get a machine for cleaning, it's pretty good for that, at least on carpets. But if it's for filtration, go for something else. Unless you are a collector or for some reason you really want an Altima, I really wouldn't pick one of these up unless it's in like brand new shape, but even then, there are plenty of better cleaning and better filtering machines out there. Even the bagless Daredevil Breezes and Featherlights with the F1 filter, I'd argue, are better at filtration and certainly better at cleaning. But it's a neat machine all around, but there are some aspects that would disqualify it for me, at least, from being a daily driver. It does really well on the plush pile carpet upstairs, which is nice because just a lot of my vacuums don't do good on it, but if this is what I see after one use, then I'm not really too interested in having to clean it constantly. Certainly a nice showpiece. They're pretty nice looking machines, at least to me they are, but I would not use one as a daily. So if I had to give it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. It's just not something that I would use. But it's also not something I necessarily want to get rid of just because of the factors that make it not good. I wouldn't see a real point in giving it to someone else. But if you want something that cleans good, then I guess if you see one, you could pick it up. I'm not going to stop you or anything. It's just not something I'd consider getting, especially if it's going to be like my main daily. But if you do decide to use it, it's definitely going to clean all right, especially if it has a better condition brush roll. But if you have allergies, I wouldn't bother with one of these. So it ain't the worst thing in the world, but it's far from great. So I guess there's kind of a good reason that these were discontinued. But as for now, I'm keeping this one. So you're probably going to see it a little bit more in the future, but not a whole lot. So yeah. I'm Jax Vax and Safety, signing off with another review. Reminder to mind your own business. And take it easy. See ya.